Good, yes, okay. Hi everyone, welcome. We're going to talk on Hatsune Miku and neural networks and synthetic voices and AI music production. Just to start, does anyone here works with music? Do we have any music producers here or DJs or anything like that? One? Okay, two, okay. Okay, so guys, just not to become a monologue, if you want to basically interact and join in at any time, please do, basically. Just to introduce myself, if this thing works, of course.
Towards that.
Towards where?
That.
That? Yeah, it works now. Was it me or was it you? It's me, okay, let me try again. Sorry, yes, okay, we are now. Well, I'm Rove Monteux. Basically, the pronunciation of that weird name is Monteux, basically. It's a French name. Even though I'm not French, I'm from São Paulo, basically, Brazil. São Paulo is a city of 12 million people, basically. It is kind of as big as Tokyo. And we do have the biggest number of Japanese people outside Japan in São Paulo. It's the biggest colony there. It's the biggest Italian colony as well. And it's the biggest Lebanese colony in the world. So we are very multicultural. We grew up in the middle of the Japanese, eating rice, drinking soya milk, and doing basically all the crazy things that Japanese people do that we love. We got very much of their work ethics, basically. People work like 12, 14 hours per day, quite proudly, basically. And we do have a very competitive edge on that as well. I do music for around 30 years now. I have been doing between electronica, black doom, and gothic metal. And classical music as well. I have published a lot of classical music that I write basically in big archives, worldwide archives, where people like Stravinsky are, for example. So I have been deeply involved in music and in programming, basically. I'm an architect and developer as well. So I try to mix both things into one. That's two things that I do a lot, basically. It's music and technology. And this is what this is about, basically. Just asking, is anyone from São Paulo here, or did anyone ever go there? Yeah, just as curiosity. No? Okay, interesting, okay, that's a premiere here, good. First, I'm gonna start, if you could put the music a little bit louder, please step in. We're gonna start with the quiz, basically. I don't know how much you guys know about Vocaloids. I'm gonna play 3 bits of songs, basically 3 vocal parts of songs, which one is, only one of them is a human singing. And we can try to discover from that who is the human singing there. And you can see how challenging things get nowadays with that, basically. So, number 1. So that was number 1. Let's go for number 2.
Contact, the deeper I look, the less there is to find. It's not this thing that feels the voice inside of me that speaks. No exit can found,
Number 3. So, any guesses? Who's the human singing? Please.
Number 2.
Number 2.
3.
3. Okay, between number 2 and 3? 1. See, you can see how inconclusive this is, and there's only one that is you, basically. So, number 1 was an artist from Japan called Yoko Miku. using Vocaloids, basically. That is Vocaloid technology. Number two, it was me using Neuro AI with lots of post-production, basically. So that's why it sounds so real. But no, this is Neuro AI with me post-producing it. And then three, Chiari Pamyo, a Japanese artist, very well known actually. And she's part of a very interesting phenomenon. Because she's not trying to sound human, she's trying to sound like a Vocaloid. She is actually getting techniques from Vocaloid. So things are inverted now, basically. The AI is becoming more human than human, the humans are becoming more like Vocaloids, basically. Because Vocaloid is quite an old technology, it's 2010, it can be considered quite old already. And the humans are taking over that, basically. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. So it was good. Fantastic, right? So, why Vocaloids even happen, basically? Are there any singers here? Anyone that those vocals that sings here that ever sang anything at all, basically sang in a band? The producers, I believe not, you are doing with the instrumental part of it. Music is art, right? Music is about arts in general, it's about passing a message and having an identity with that. In a band, generally, the vocalist, the voice is the most dominant identity of the art, basically. So replacing a vocalist in a band, or like Chiari, for example, you replace her, it's not that group, it's not that identity, it's not that music anymore. So there's a lot of legal problems with that. Basically, there's a lot of cases where vocalists took the band hostage, basically, and did all sorts of demands you can possibly imagine on earth. Basically, you might know from Axl Rose, from Guns N' Roses, for example, trying to visit out of the hotel room. He can't because he's a star, basically. So who's gonna say anything about it? They also get tired, they cancel sessions. I'm a vocalist myself, I'm fully to blame for that. I assume the fault for that. The age, your voice change. They disagree with producer, they disagree with the band, they need payments, royalties, there's big disputes about royalties. It gets complicated, it's really complicated. Towards that, there was always a drive to basically, how can we get a vocalist that is resilient enough, basically, to tour, to stay with the band, and to perpetuate its identity, like pretty much forever. That's where Vocaloids were born, basically. That was the entire drive behind that, basically. They turned voice into something you call design. There is another thing that's called an auto-tune that became very popular since the 2000s as well. But the auto-tune depends on the person singing behind it. And the auto-tune chooses the person basically to be on pitch and sing like a pro. But it's a completely different technique and you still depend on the voice behind it, which is still might get tied as identity of the group as well, basically. The Vocaloid have none of that, basically. Vocaloid, for as mythological that it sounds, it's just an application, basically, that. And essentially, this is me using Vocaloid here, basically. It is a piano roll here, basically. When you create music on the computer, you have the piano, and you draw the notes here, and there's tons of parameters to it. That's how you compose the music, basically. Before you would, like on classical music, you would get a partiture and write it, basically, which was very time-consuming, very complicated, basically. It was Mathematica, purely, basically. This is way more modern, this is way more simple. So you do have the piano roll here, you draw a note here, like for example, we draw a note here, and we have the wave of the voice, basically. So the more up it goes, the higher it gets, the lower it goes, the lower it gets the voice. So here it goes, like Vocaloid does the wah, and here it goes like basically. So it is quite easy to program, and you type the letters here that you want the Vocaloid to sing. So here I put hell, low, Animefest here basically into a sequence basically, and you get the Vocaloid to sing. You have the voices here, You have the style, and basically you have how often the vocalist breathes even, basically. So the interesting thing here with the style, you can make the voice, the Vocaloid talk, not just sing. So when you see Hatsune Miku, for example, talking, that's how they program it, basically. So there is a person there meticulously programming this around, basically that. Which is both fascinating and exhausting as well, basically. I'll just put here a getting started with Vocaloid. This is a video. Back then, this was 2010, Vocaloid 5. Back then, we didn't have AI. So we had to either read manuals, basically, which were like 300 pages of manual, or they translated from Japanese. And that if you didn't have to read, try to read the kanji itself, basically, because there is bits very important that were never translated, actually. Instead of, like today, you just go to ChatGPT and ask, how do I use this thing? Yes, please do. Please.
I suppose you might mention later, but how does it make like the legality of the usage of Vocaloids? Do you have to buy it, or do you just like download it?
I will mention later, you need to buy it, basically. And everybody can buy Hatsune Miku. It is fantastic. You can record a song with Hatsune Miku now, release. It is basically, that is the other advantage. The trademark is not yours, but you are allowed to use it if you pay for it, basically. That. And when you get Vocaloid, it comes with lots of free voices. As a trial, basically, you have to buy those. There's thousands of voices, like thousands. So basically, we didn't have AI to explain to us how to use, so what was the quickest way? Go to YouTube and watch a 3-minute video about it and start using the bloody thing, basically, which is what we're going to do now, basically. This is the official one for Vocaloid 5, made by the Japanese. We set the audio interface, basically, where the sound is going to come through.
Double-click the Vocaloid part, and the piano roll appears in the lower part.
Piano roll.
You can select the voice for the part. To select the voice,
Select the voice.
and select the voice
For example, Hatsune Miku.
to enter the notes for the selected part. Click the music.
You get a pen and enter the notes, basically.
Click and drag in the piano roll to the notes.
Yeah. See, and the waves start to form on their own, basically, for the voice.
Click the play button in the
And play.
control, and click the stop button to stop playing back. The space key on your keyboard can be used for playback and also stop.
So it is quite simple, basically. It is not hard at all at first, basically.
To answer the lyrics, one word or syllable.
And then you enter the lyrics, basically, what you want it to sing.
Enter the word and go to the next.
It's worth noting, it can only really do English and Japanese. There's no other language in it. You can hack it around, you can enter manual mode and edit the waves, but that's when the micro-edit gets really funny, and it starts sounding like a mix between harmonica and chimpanzee, if you don't do it right. It gets hard, it gets really hard. So that's the one I did here, basically one example. That is Vocaloid 6. Vocaloid 6 now have AI in it. So it tries to basically split your notes into the diphthongs, the bits of the words that you put in, basically. On Vocaloid 5, no, you have to do it manually. On this one, it is much easier. And you can stack voices. There's, for example, here is Michelle and Ira here, basically Ira, basically, and you can stack both and make them, get them to do a duet, basically, which is quite nice. But it is not that hard, basically. Now with Vocaloid 6, it's a lot easier, basically. The AI helps a lot to split it. But sometimes it's kind of annoying. It splits in parts that you don't want to, and it insists, fuck it, we're going to split it, and we don't care. Basically, we are AI, you are not, just show. So basically, no. So then you need to enter manual mode and bypass it. It gets quite complicated, but it works in the end, and it's worth it, basically. So back to your question. Here it is, basically. That's Hatsune Miku. She costs right now $78, basically. Which, quite frankly, it's not much for everything that you get. Basically, it's a virtual 6. It's AI ready, basically. if you can Google the Vocaloids site and you can download a trial for 3 months now, basically, and you can just buy the voice. And it is legal for you to make a song of yours featuring Hatsune Miku, basically. If you go on YouTube, if you go on Spotify, you see the amount of people featuring Hatsune Miku, it's unreal. For them it's good because that prolongs and that promotes their own brand, basically. It promotes work, basically. So, and as everyone knows that it's open, basically, even if they folk open, it is still promoting how to talk bad, we'll talk about me, type of thing, like basically. So, you know, the Japanese are great, this type of thing. They're really amazing, like basically. It's what we grew up in the middle of, basically. So, any questions about Vocaloid before I jump on? Yes, please.
What are the limitations on using a voice?
Sorry, I can't imagine the guys at the back.
What are the limitations on using a voice?
Well, there is no real limitation, basically. You bought it, you licensed it, you are free to use it. You cannot claim it as yours, basically. You need to put its featuring Hatsune Miku. You cannot record or say it is basically Eva Carlos singing that. No, you can't, basically. You have to give credit to her, basically. Which in all fairness, she deserves it, basically. It's only fair, basically. So it is kind of like if you are hiring her to sing in your studio and basically do a song with you, which is revolutionary because you have to travel someone from Japan and pay them thousands and thousands of dollars, and the person might even get sick on the way, or basically look at it and say, fuck this, I'm not doing that, I don't agree with it, like basically. No, just say. So that changes everything, basically. Which is what dealing with modern music is now, basically. We are reducing the dependency on human identity, basically, and we are virtualizing most of it. And we are starting to make art with the machine, and we are starting to adapt to the machine, not the way around. At this time where machines are adapting to us, it's over. It is not the future, it's now, basically. Now we are adapting to it, basically. It's got to a point that's so advanced that basically it bypassed those, basically. Any questions? Any more questions? Vocaloid, please.
So you said it only supports Japanese and English.
English.
How do they do it? At Miku Expo where she speaks German or Spanish too, because I heard it in German and like it sounds great, like as good as English, I'd say.
Hacked it, basically. It is micro-editing to its limit. I'll be honest, I recorded an entire album in ecclesiastical Latin music. You can go to my Spotify, you can find it, it's an album called Sine Libertate, basically, which is entirely Latin, basically, ancient Latin, done with that, basically, and it worked. I tell you, it was very challenging, because there's sometimes even I didn't know the pronunciation in ancient Latin, so yeah, it was more the researching of it was harder than actually doing that. But you can hack it for that, you can, but it's not official, basically. If you want to go there, just type and get it work. It's English and Japanese, it's very well supported. But I see people trying to do Korean in it, so this guy is theoretically the limit if you have the time and the patience to basically sit down and do it proper, basically. But you need to really enjoy it, basically. The music producers also can attest to music producers changing now, basically, towards that, basically, everything electronic. Another thing, we don't need to pay for studio anymore. There are studios that you will record, they charge like something like $1,000 per hour. Like, it's crazy, like, basically. All you need to do is a Mac, basically. A Mac, Logic Pro, a few plugins, instruments, basically, maybe a keyboard, if you don't want to program like that, basically, if you imagine buttons to press, and that's it, basically. You don't need to carry more those massive drums, basically, guitars, wood, iron, horse hair, whatever it is, like, basically. It's over, it's in the past, like, basically. Any more questions on Vocaloid, please? Yes, please.
Do you have to pay royalties to Yamaha?
No, because you bought the license already. You licensed it. They're making a lot of money with it because, like, for example, 100 people buy it and they try. Only one actually succeeded on releasing something with Hatsune Miku. Yeah, because the song might be really crap, basically, and it goes nowhere, basically. As a musician, I don't know if there's musicians here, but when you are composing, you compose like 10 songs, you use one of them. 9 of them go to the bin, basically. So what was I thinking? So whatever you see lastly produced, it is 1 out of 100, basically. That, and everyone knows that. So they make a lot of money with that, basically, with the people, like basically thousands buying it, and only 1 or 2 actually making it. Please, yeah. There is it.
Look, you said you need a Mac. It doesn't work on Windows.
No, it works on Windows. I am using only Mac, basically. Look, for music production, I'm not being sponsored by Apple or anything like that, but the machine is a lot more stable. It doesn't freeze, it doesn't crash, it doesn't basically. It is better dealing with real-time sync I/O and things like that. So I highly advise using a Mac for that. Really, that is better, really. No matter how big it is, still Windows. Any questions, please? Any more on Vocaloids before we jump into AI? No? Okay. So, what happened? I was talking about all the difficulties about using Vocaloids, basically. How hard is it to micro-edit, basically. How much effort, how only a few people managed to do it. That is when AI came to disrupt even the Vocaloid scene, basically. But listen, just as a disclaimer, it doesn't mean that Vocaloid is old, it doesn't mean that Vocaloid is crap. Quite the opposite. Vocaloid has an identity, an aesthetics of its own, that you can see people like Pamela trying to replicate as humans now. So Vocaloid have a huge value, it's a massive cultural value. It is still a landmark, it's still very valuable, but it's very hard to use, basically, when you enter a workflow with it, basically. That's why AI came in place, basically. At the beginning, AI was used like Vocaloid, basically, with a piano roll, but trying to eliminate all the difficulties that you have while working with a Vocaloid. So I'll show you here as well. The same introductory video. You saw the video for Vocaloid. This is for the first generation of AI tools. And you can see it's the same thing, but it's AI. Prompt, voice, synth video. See? That vibrato at the end is really good. Synth nice vocals. Water. It's very different from vocal. Here it takes timbre, better now. It's in a different level. Time in balance. So you can micro-edit basically the pitches, the waves, duration, breathing. And it sounds just like that, it sounds real. That's why at the beginning I was telling you how easy is it to identify it. It sounds impossible, actually. And that one is actually the first generation. Today things are done even easier, basically. That is quite old already if you take it in account. Today, you do more like you do with ChatGPT. You prompt it, basically. And there are many platforms like Audio, like Sona, where you prompt what you want, and it basically renders it back to you. It bypasses this entire process, basically, and it gives it back to you. There's people that say that, okay, that is just typing something and pressing a button, that's it. It's not, basically. Because if you do it, every time you do, you get a different result, and you won't get what you really want. Basically. So there's no identity, basically. So while it is able to do it, it has no identity at all, or it has not if you don't know how to do it, basically, because things get complicated, basically. So, for example, there is a site called Audio. I mentioned here, there are many others, like Sona, Lyra 3. Audio is right now, it's the most user-friendly that you can possibly get to start with it, basically. So if you go to audio.com, And you can enter a prompt, for example, generate a Vocaloid like anime song with lyrics for the Brno Animefest 2026, basically. And it has basically the prompt here. You just go to create, prompt, and you have parameters here. Voice control, you can auto-generate the lyrics. You expand here, there's a lot more, like the beats per minute that you want. How long is the song, like basically, if you're continuing a song, where to continue from, like 40%, the time if it's auto, minus, reduction, how strong is your prompt, how much it influences, and how hard it tries to fix your prompt if it's broken. The strength of the lyrics, and you just press create, basically, and that's it. You can even try on your phone now, basically, it works very well, actually. And on prompting, that is when you should not type, like we did here, generate a Vocaloid. Every time you do, you try it, you're going to get something different, something without identity, something without personality, basically. And if you try to make an album with that, you're going to have an album with 10 songs that sound like 10 different bands all together, like a weird compilation that doesn't really work. And there is a second factor. When you get something from there, you can download stems, piece of the song or the entire song, but you need to post-produce it. It's not production ready, basically. You need to do a lot of work after as well with it. So the prompting, you need to be very specific. When you put basically inside boxes, it is how you want that part to sound. You can design the entire sound, basically, and then you can enter lyrics, basically, for the prompt as well, basically. So you have intro, you have verse 1, you have build-up 1, you have verse 2, you have chorus. It is like writing. When you are composing a song, you actually do it like that, basically. But you just write down. From this moment on, you realize you are working with the machine as a band member, basically. You are discussing it with the machine. If you do this prompt and you throw, like, for example, on ChatGPT or Codex, I did an entire album with Codex, you can plan and discuss, basically. Is this fine? What can I do about it? Let's plan it like that. And it suggests, like, no, what if we change this and this? And it is like working with, they feel band members, like, it's crazy, like, and I spend hours and hours discussing until you get to something, wait, this is fucking genius. Okay, let's do it. And then you go to execute it, and then you realize, no, it's not really genius, and you realize you have to take back and post-produce it. But so there is still a lot of work involved, but that's how the modern workflow is now, basically. It's very new, there's not that many people doing that yet, but from here on it will become like that, basically. So this is what I created with Moodle. So for all purposes, it's not what it's in the term has no identity. And that's what you get. It cooks because the maximum is like 2 minutes 10, basically. So you need to create more bits and stitch them together, basically. Did anyone ever create something already like that with AI? And what's your experience with it? Can you close the microphone?
Yes, of course, sorry.
I'm curious because there's not that many people actually professionally doing that stuff. I really want to hear.
So my friend used Suno AI, so he prompted something in Czech and something quite specific, and he saw that it first sent to ChatGPT, generate me the lyrics, and then it turned it into music, and ChatGPT returned error message, and it was like, sorry, I don't understand this phrase, and then I didn't use it from that error message, so that was quite funny.
Brilliant, yeah. No, there are moments with colleagues you spend like half of the day fighting that. I said, no, do it, no. And it's like a member, really. It's actually better because it's available 24/7. You can work whenever you want, but that's exactly it. Thanks, really. Thank you, really. And you have, please.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun with the video, to be honest. Essentially what we did was take the lyrics of various different artists feed it in, and then it does give you 3 or 4 variations, which was quite nice. And we made, I think, some heavy metal out of Britney Spears, which was really nice.
Wow, fantastic. Wow. Guys, if you do, can you please share with us, basically, on hashtag Animefest CZ, and we can share with each other, and we can see what each other are doing. If you can, please, yeah. And we can get in touch after as well, and we might even do something together, basically. Thanks for reading. Thank you.
I am Hatsune Miku, and hello, Animefest 2026.
That was created with Vocaloids, just to prove the point that she can talk. You can actually program it.
I am Hatsune Miku, and hello, Animefest 2026.
And you can notice how strong her Japanese accent is too, but it's fantastic. And because I do have a legal copy, basically, of course, so basically it was quite easy to create. The thing is, all this AI thing, as I mentioned, is based from that, actually. It comes from the Vocaloid scene, basically. The Vocaloid scene and Hatsune Miku especially changed everything. It was a prototype like for virtual influencers, AI streamers, synthetic celebrities, algorithm pop. Hatsune Miku changed everything, basically. And that's how this all started. Where we are now with music nowadays, and how it is gonna be. It's all because of basically the crazy Japanese having that brilliant idea, so I thought if we're gonna do it. Thanks Yama for all that, basically, which they're all, basically people don't credit them enough for that, but basically it is what it is, basically. So, just to conclude here, basically, AI is not gonna kill Vocaloid. Vocaloid is a class of its own. It has its own aesthetics, it has its own basically color, it has its own art, its own message. It's something that will be here for a long, long time. But it will switch. It will be more people trying to be like Vocaloids rather people programming Vocaloids, basically. The humans following that, basically. And with the AI, it will be the same thing, basically. Like what I did, that you thought that what I did, it was a real person, basically. There are real people trying to copy that perfect timbre, that perfect pitch, which is very hard to achieve as a human. And the machine surpasses those already, basically. So it's not anymore, as I mentioned, the matter of we make the machine sound like us. No, it's us evolving to sound like the perfection that the machine has, basically. It's a completely different ballgame, basically. So the future is not AI will replace artists, basically people think the artists are scared, basically. They replace those, our bands will die, no? It is more people adapting to it, basically. It is a natural evolution, basically. It will make us better as human musicians as well, just in a different way. We don't need to use wood, iron, horse's hair anymore, basically. It's a different ballgame, basically. Any questions about it, please? About AI specifically?
I have a question.
Please.
Is there a way how to safely distinguish man-made music from AI music?
Sorry, second?
Is there a way how to distinguish man-made music from AI music, like with AI art? I don't understand the center point.
There was, now there is not anymore if you do it properly. But look, in the 80s there was Milli Vanilli, for example, basically, which was a big artist from the 80s, which they put basically a guy almost close to singer, no? And basically the voice wasn't his at all. So this has been happening for a long time. There are laws now that are coming. CapCut have laws now on video, for example, that any content made with AI has to be tagged as made by AI. The European Union is coming with those laws as well, because its own distinction, it's better than human, basically. It is not even that it's like human, it's better already, basically. I don't know, questions, please? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you started saying that you're also a vocalist. right? That you were doing this for 30 years before.
Yes.
So I think this is very similar. Like I work in IT, and then you have a senior is a senior developer that is very good at prompting, and then can produce amazing output. Now my question for you, maybe on a more personal level, because this last part I think is very very good. Like AI not replacing humans, it's worse. And more interesting. What do you think this will look like for new vocalists coming now? Do you think this will become like a thing that a vocalist will have to learn to prompt to like produce their voice in this pitch perfect type of thing? Otherwise, you don't make it. What do you think this looks like for these new people?
Thanks. There's many ways of doing that. One, auto-tune, which is very popular now, basically, because the goal of the auto-tune is the same thing, basically. The guys or the girls out of pitch, basically, it fixes it for them as they sing, which has an aesthetics of its own as well. It is not cheating at all. People say it's cheating, they are using auto-tune and all. If you know how to use it artistically, it's beautiful. It is as nice as a Vocaloid. It has a very strong aesthetics, especially the electronic music with drum and bass and all. It gets amazing. That's one way. The second way is doing duets with AI, basically the person singing and having a second partner, basically, especially a boy and a girl, basically. I have heard now a lot, actually. The girl is AI and the boy is a human, basically, and they are doing it together. And the third way is basically the people doing like Kari basically did, they adapt to it and they change their technique. Basically, and they try to change the technique to get the aesthetics of either Vocaloid, auto-tune, AI, without using it or using with it. But basically, so the humans start to interact in a different way. We are not the masters anymore. We are working with it. Basically, we are not commanding or giving it orders. We work together. It's a different concept, basically, and that changes everything. Basically. Any other questions, please? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much for your nice talk. I have been following Vocaloids, I think maybe in the beginning of them, around 2010 or something.
Yes.
And you mentioned previously that Vocaloids have personality.
Yes.
Which is actually true, and I'm not sure whether you mentioned that, but actually Vocaloids are based on sampling of human voices.
Yes.
And those human voices are, I think, primarily, or 100% of them are Japanese.
Yes.
And that kind of actually explains why they cannot pronounce other languages as well.
Exactly.
So, besides, as far as I remember, Vocaloids used to be, or still are, whole personas.
Yes.
So I remember watching some concerts of them appearing on stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that makes them more like persons, even if they're virtual.
Exactly.
At the same time, AI-generated music is based on models that have been trained or on cross-lingual content. So they have picked up, I don't know, German, English, or other languages, and that actually explains why they can perform better. Of course, they're also much easier to use, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
with AI embedded inside to fix things that you don't need to do manually anymore. As Vocaloid 6 now has AI. Vocaloid 5, which most everybody uses, basically it was very.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether there has been any progress in sampling English voices or Japanese speaking in English. At least I remember that at least Brno was kind of able to also sing in both Japanese and English, but it still sounded kind of off in English.
Yes. When you start using it, you need to test the voices basically, and you need to define your target language first and see if you can do it in that target language. Some voices are good with English, some voices are not. Some voices are for Japanese only, some voices are English only. Basically, so you need to. It is a bank of voices, like there's thousands, like so. It takes a while until you define that. A good point on that is. The Vocaloids, the main thing of the identity, as you mentioned, is them up on stage or on the screen dancing, basically. which there is a program that does that, basically, that you can download the program and you can get the character and animate with your music as well. But that program was made in 2010, and you need a Windows XP or Windows 7 emulator to basically to be able to use that. But they still use it, and it works basically. You see things on the internet like Regalia, for example. So maybe you using that basically. You won't believe it's Windows XP with Vocaloids 5, but yeah, but those guys are crazy. The work they do is incredible.
So I was wondering if there are any statistics on the usage and prevalence of Vocaloids versus AI-generated software for AI-generated music or vocals during the last years, the last years that AI has appeared in this.
Vocaloids 6 is trying to basically bring it back to the AI world, basically. So there is a transition going on right now, basically. If you download it now, you will get a Vocaloid with AI built-in already inside it. So they're trying to close the gap, basically, to make it easier to edit. But still, they don't want to lose the identity that it has, the aesthetics that it has, because the entire value is not aesthetics that people are trying to copy, basically. So they evolve in a way that the quality is better, but it's easier to use. But they will not change it to become like AI, basically. That ultra realistic, basically. Better than human type of thing.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, really. Thanks, really. Any other questions, please? There is one at the very back there.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to ask you, like, personally, what's maybe more fun to you, or like how would you compare writing music as a producer in a more like traditional way with Vocaloids or with software when you control the pitch and the chord sequence yourself, like kind of like microcontrol, versus prompting when you just text and like quickly iterate and prompt? Like, well, what's more fun to you, or how would you describe the difference?
I find prompting more fun, but the prompts can get like 1,000 lines big, like those massive prompts, like it's a book, it's not even a prompt anymore. So you wrote a perfect description of it, but as I mentioned, it's not enough. You get the results, you get the stems, you start splitting them, you create bits in separate, basically, and you put the entire thing together. So again, the point is not to let AI do everything, just go there and say, please do this for me. No, it is work together with AI as a band member, basically. It is instead of having 4 people in your band, basically, you have 3 AI systems and your own studio, basically, and that changes the workflow. It's great fun, basically. If you guys have access to a computer with a workstation, even GarageBand or something like that, do have a go. It's great fun, really. It really is.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so basically, I'll leave here just basically that is a summary of it all here. Basically, so if I don't want, and if anyone wants to get a copy of the presentation, please do ask me as well. You can find me everywhere, even in Spotify. It is very, very easy, basically. And again, this is not about replacing musicians, it's about redefining what a musician is, basically. Because keeping the status quo has never been an option for humanity at all, basically. We will be still making fire with stones and playing instruments with horsehair, basically. So no, it is a good thing, basically. So we did the questions. I have more questions because we do have 5 minutes here left. Yes, please. Yeah.
I would like to ask about the voices. Are every voices recorded from the human, or are any of them synthesized?
On Vocaloid, they are recorded from human diphthongs, from bits of like words, from like phonemes, basically. Basically, and that you can. They carefully record it and basically they synthesize it. Because the Vocaloid, it's not a person singing, it's an instrument. It's actually an instrument within piano roll and waves, basically. So that is one thing. Vocalists, even the human ones, they should be treated as an instrument because they are, basically. So the Japanese got it very right, basically. They said, look, what's the difference between a keyboard, the guitar, and the person singing? They are all doing notes. It's an instrument, basically. So they are all from him, yes.
So we can basically say, if you want the color of your voice, we don't need your hormones anymore to the singing.
Well, no, we can make better use of your voice more widely, worldwide type of thing. Hatsune Miku, basically. So basically, which is a great thing, actually, basically. But if they have exclusive rights for it, that nobody will do that, she will not be as big as it is now, basically. But it's because people can own it, basically, as well.
So, should I force Hatsune Miku to speak Polish, or it would be very difficult thing to do?
Look, I managed to get Latin, ecclesiastical Latin. So if you have a phonetics, it's possible, basically. Exactly that. You can just get out of and join together and you have a shortcut like that. Brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Really, you also have been lovely. Really, it's been great talking to you. If anyone want to hit me up and contact me, please do. Basically, I live in Brno since 2008. Basically, I live in Ireland from 2008, so I'm not going anywhere. I love the city. Basically, I'm here for good. So please do hit up, and if you want to do collabs as well, please do. We can do something together as well. Really. And I appreciate it, really. And I do have a new album now, basically. It's called Existence, basically. It's a new EP. And it is also basically an album called Life as well, basically, which is completely, the voices were all done with neuro AI. It's very evil, Danish, basically. It is very, like, it's strong, but it's something that I can call electronic black metal, basically. I'm trying to bring black metal back to modernity with it, basically that, basically. So, to take it out of the wood and iron and cable and all that shit, basically, and try to bring it to now. So there are basically QR codes for that as well, so please be welcome to have a listen to it and to everything else that I have there as well, basically. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.